Paid ads for my business is the only way. At least in my personal experience of 5 years, I will go toe to toe with any marketing company out there of grinding and networking, working off of referrals. Like I built a $50,000 a month agency off of networking referrals and a little bit through Google, through a little SEO. So I know how to grind. But it's not sustainable. I'm not going to be able to get to a level to like that Joao can serve unless I have paid ads. And that was the moments of just seeing other industries and people like Joao that I trust. If I'm going to actually be able to have impact and have bandwidth and time to do what I'm meant to do on this earth, I have to invest and I have to take the risk on ads.
Welcome back to Growth Lab Sessions. I'm Joao, CEO of Stealth White Label Agency, and my mission is simple: to help marketing agencies grow and build sustainable success. Today, we're bringing in Charlie Piehler, founder of Rally Point Marketing, a full-service digital marketing agency specializing in home service businesses like general contractors, painters, and HVAC companies. With over a decade in the industry, 5 years running his own agency, a rock-solid team of 8, and 150 plus 5-star Google reviews, Charlie's built a reputation for more than just lead generation. He creates proven, scalable marketing systems that help Main Street businesses grow predictably and sustainably. Based on 2.5 acres in northern Colorado with his wife and 3 kids under 7, he's on a mission to break 100K by the end of the year. Charlie, welcome to Growth Lab Sessions. Are you ready to take it to the lab?
Let's get after it. Thanks, Joao.
All right. Cool. Well, good to have you here, man. I always like to start things off by asking, what's your story and how did you get to the marketing world?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. When it was so I was working for a big box marketing company back in 2017, 2016. I called them my alma mater because I learned so much more than typical university from there. And so I have really great memories. But there was a cap at what I could do, what I could make, and the impact I could make in the industry. And at the time, my wife and I got pregnant with our first kid, our daughter. And at that moment when our daughter was born, we really didn't have much maternity leave. And my wife, in September of 2018, had to go back to work less than 2 months after having our daughter, and it just absolutely wrecked her. And obviously seeing that, going, man, I feel helpless of where I'm at with my current job and my current setting. What am I going to do to change this? What am I going to do to provide for my family? And in that moment, I decided I have to find a way to make this work. And I'm a God-fearing man, and I felt like God created opportunities for me to rub shoulders with the right people at the right time to start serving them. I'm really good at sales too. And so if I could just start shaking hands with people, I could build up trust. Even though I didn't have any online reputation, I knew enough of the industry, being in it for a few years, that if I could get in front of people, I know I could get them to trust me, and I knew that I could deliver. And so I started building the business from scratch. And that was back in September of 2018 with the goal and the vision of how do I get my wife home so that we can start having a lot of babies and building a family and building a legacy and sustain our family income and growth just from what I'm doing. And it was really cool because there was a lot of heartache, a lot of hardship that led to October of 2020. That allowed me to have my wife stay home full-time right before we had our second kid, my son, born in February of 2021. And so that was a huge bedrock moment for me, because you go 3 years prior with a fixed mindset of like, hey, this is what it is. This is how much I can make. This is what I can do in life and society, to having a really hard event to go on. It opened the doorway to, man, so much and anything is possible. I couldn't spell entrepreneurship before I met my wife and before I got married, and now being a business owner and beginning to build is a really cool thing. So that's my origin story that led to the conception of Rally Point.
Yeah, I love it. And congrats for getting to that, stage about 5 years ago. I think,
Yeah,
earning your ability to live more of on your own terms is what every agency owner is trying to get to, right? Or at least that's for a lot of people that I speak with, financial freedom or just flexibility of time is what most people are looking after. I know it was that for me. I didn't really have a wife, but I hated going to a job every single day. I learned a lot of skills, but, which was super important for me to start my own agency. And speaking of skills, like I'm wondering right now, what were the skills that you had? I know you mentioned sales, but what were the skills that you had before you started Rally Point?
yeah. It's working at a big box marketing agency. In order for a big company that has hundreds of, at least this is my perception of things, right? In order for a company like that to work and to scale, they need to have a lot of different cogs in the wheel. And so I did customer service, I did sales, I was able to talk shop, but even after being there for multiple years, I couldn't build a website. I couldn't tell you how to do back end SEO optimization. There was a lot from the marketing side. I couldn't do graphic design. I couldn't do anything. And so I really am a byproduct of not only that experience from the customer facing side and how that works, but I'm a byproduct of YouTube University, man. Just going and figuring it out. I had a conversation with my mother-in-law, who owned multiple businesses, very business minded, and was a shock to my system when I met them because that was not something that was a part of my life. And something that she talked to me, she said this off of the cuff, was saying, one of the things that truly helps make leaders and makes business owners successful is their ability to be resourceful. To when they have something that they've just, if they, whatever it is that they have, they can take it and then make the most of it and take it to a new level. And I remember in that moment going, man, I'm not that. I'm not resourceful. And so as I started Rally Point, it was basically like, hey, can you build a website? Absolutely. With no idea how to do it. But with the idea of going, I'm going to provide and take care of my family. I'm going to find a way. And it was weird because it was just a lot of yes and doing whatever it takes, long nights, 60, 80-hour work weeks to do whatever it took. And it was a humbling moment because, you fast forward to then having employees and team members underneath you and being able to delegate after doing it all and going, wow, because of my body of work for the last 3 years, we now do everything. Anything from a digital marketing standpoint, we do. And it all started from being like, okay, I can now say that I'm resourceful. And so that's the beauty of, I think, the digital marketing space is if you have the grit, you're not stupid, and you can actually figure it out, you can be resourceful to build something incredible.
Yeah.
So going into it, I really didn't have anything compared to what I have now, which is it's a humbling thing to say.
Yeah. I mean, you had the desire, the need,
Yep.
right? And you
Yep.
had the guts and the balls to do
Mm,
it. And
thank
so I know that, for myself, that's already like a major step, and I've spoken to other people that are used to working for a company, right? That are
you. Hmm.
used to the comfort or the safety of working for a company. That transition from, like going full entrepreneurship, it's scary, man, because everybody has bills to pay, right? I mean, some people that, don't have bills to pay, that's a luxury. But when, you depend on making an income, you're living month to
Yeah.
month. I know I was for a long time when, after I graduated, I was living month to month. And so for me to quit and start my own thing, that was insane. That was high adrenaline moment. Was that like the same way for you, or you just like, nah, I'll do it, like whatever, I'll try it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. A quick break in the podcast to tell you about Stealth, my white label marketing agency. If you're an agency owner and feeling stuck in fulfillment, hiring, and team management while trying to scale, this is for you. Stealth helps agency owners like you take fulfillment off your plate so you can focus on growth of your agency, from running ad campaigns and SEO to creating high converting content and managing CRMs. We handle the back end for your clients so you don't have to. Whether you're drowning in client work or struggling to scale your agency, Stealth gives you the support you need to scale without the headache. And if that sounds like a fit, then check out our website link in the description and book a time to speak with a consultant. And now back to the pod.
Yeah, pain is a good teacher if you let it be. And that pain that I experienced back in September of 2018, seeing my wife have to go back to work, I never want to experience that again. I mean, as I look back at that, and as much as that was such a horrible moment for me, it was so formative. And so I could give a rat's ass what was in front of me. I was going to deliver, and so that it stoked and also you experience things. I was a collegiate soccer player. I was incredibly talented, but I had no work ethic growing up, and I had the highest scholarship on the school, and I just got my butt handed to me because I had no work ethic. And so leading up to that, I experienced a handful of failures in my life that started to label the type of person that I was. And then you go, and I think when you experience those lessons of failure, they kind of came together and built this drive in me and mentality that said, I don't care. And there's no going back. It was like the ship, it's burning the ships, if you will. And so
Yeah.
the ships are burned, doesn't matter. You go and you figure it out. And so that pain outweighed the concern. And
Yeah.
there was obviously plenty of times where you're like, holy crap, how are we going to get through this? Like you were saying. But yeah, that just was such a cornerstone moment for me that lit a fire to help get me to where I am, which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah. No, I love that. You need something to drive you, right? You
Yeah,
need a chip on your shoulder. You need, like, I don't know, to prove people wrong. You need to prove yourself right, right? There has to be like an ambition, a burning desire to get something done because, there's a lot of hardship with being an entrepreneur. And so,
oh my gosh, I think I learned this from Tony Robbins. Um, I'm now starting, even 5 years into this. It's been a lesson that's taken a long time. The hardships, the failures that I experienced, the moments of inadequacy. I've held on to those as bitterness, and those are now becoming some of the most sacred moments of my life because they help teach and drive me to build and have success. I mean, if you would have told me back in 2016 when I got married that I would have no school, that I would have 2.5 acres of a home that's beautiful with 3 kids, I'm growing and building a legacy and building a business that's serving a lot of people really well, I would have thought you were crazy. But the only way that I have all of those things is because of those moments of suffering and those moments of rejection and failure. Because I had the right people around me mentor me to make that as a piece to drive me. I love Tom Brady, because I mean
Because
he's
you guys look
has
alike?
no introduction. There's no introduction, right? But what I
Yeah.
love about him, especially when you look at the photo of his during his during what was it called? His they do something. I need to. I know this is better for the clip, but it's when he's doing his draft combine. Yeah. So when you think of Tom Brady, when he's a man that needs no introduction, and you look at his photo from the draft combine, dude looks like the most average Joe guy on the planet. And I felt a lot like that back in 2016. But what he taught me, and from his messaging, is like if you can achieve the goals that you want in life, as long as you're willing to stay disciplined and sacrifice for it. And those moments really that seeing him as an example had a massive impact on me because when nobody else believed, I knew that I could rely on myself and believe and rely on God to be like, man, God, I personally believe you're putting this fire in me and I can't see the end of it. But to look back and be almost 10 years from that moment, it started in that pain. It started in when nobody else believed, but I had the self belief.
Yeah.
And I'm super grateful for it. It's
Yeah.
become that those lessons of pain and rejection are now becoming some of the most important blessings of my life.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about having the right people around you, right? Who were your mentors when you were just starting your agency?
Yeah, family would be a big one.
Okay.
I grew up in a really great, loving family, so I'm immensely grateful for that. I also married into a family of entrepreneurs and who were very
Mm.
gracious to, and they saw things in me that I necessarily didn't see in myself. And so they were able to speak to, hey, Charlie, this is where you're at. This is where you want to be. Here's some feedback. Also, the CEO of uh, the big marketing company that I work with, yeah, he very busy man. He might not even remember my name, right? But seeing his example and even the few conversations that I had to have with him helped shape those moments for me because of their examples and going, man, I'm seeing people that I long to be like. What would they think in this moment? How do they believe in themselves? And then I think a book that really changed the trajectory of my life, almost a watershed moment book, was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. I read that in April of 2016. And Darren Hardy says he has his thesis for the book is you can accomplish, and similar to what I said a little bit earlier with Tom Brady, is you can accomplish anything in your life that you desire and you dream for as long as you are able to put the work day in and day out and sacrifice to make it happen. And so I just submitted to that belief, and tried to think more than just you know, how do I, how do I, how do I let my actions and my work ethic, like how do I see the result of that, not in 6 months, not in 2 years, but 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And so it's great to now be in a place to where I can start to build.
For sure. And so you have you have the experience working for a marketing company, right? Which kind
Hmm.
of let you
Yeah.
see in, your eyes like, "Oh, I know how to sell marketing services. Like, why don't I just start selling it? That's going to give me more like allow me to create my own marketing agency. I'll figure out how to do the things. I'll become resourceful and go on YouTube and learn how to build a website, ads, whatever it is." So, that kind of prepared you to start your own agency. How did you acquire your first clients?
Rubbing shoulders, shaking hands, door knocking, all of those items. Um, a lot of local. I mean, again, something I joke about is there's a diamond. There's a everybody knows a real estate agent, right? There's so many real estates out there. It's just a hyper saturated market. Well, if you think of digital marketing, then double that amount for digital marketing agencies, right? Obviously, it's a low barrier to entry type of business, but it's very difficult to be able to grow and scale. And so, for most marketing agencies that don't have ability or don't have money for ad spend, or are afraid to put money towards ad spend, which I know that's one of the number one problems that you solve, right? Um, you have to be willing to go shake hands. So Chamber of Commerce, different networking groups were huge to help get it off the ground, because you pay a couple $1,000s in those for the year, and if you're willing to put in the time to shake hands again and again, opportunities will come. And so that's initially, because again, I knew that was I think that was one of the big hurdles for my business, is fear of ads. As crazy as that sounds, most marketing companies are scared of ads because there's a lot of things that they can control in the other items. But I knew I could rely on my sales experience and my ability to network to really help grow that, and that probably sustained me for about 2 years when I started, until outside networking and word of mouth really was able to sustain the business for a few years from there.
Wow. So it took you 2 years of going to actively, looking for networking opportunities and meeting people to get, like a pool of clients, and then, allow the word of mouth and asking for referrals and collecting Google reviews, right? Because you have 150 Google reviews for your marketing services, right?
Yeah,
That's what empowered your agency to start growing without you actively putting time into
yeah.
networking events.
I am finding there are levels and ceilings to break when it comes to the marketing space, and I am in a prime example of someone that was scared of running ads for my business. I mean, we talked 2 3 years ago, and you knew personally firsthand that the way to scale a business, the way to make that happen is through paid ads. You have to. You can't do it without it. And I wasn't at a place to where I felt like I could do that, nor believe that, unfortunately, right? And so by not accepting and submitting to that and taking the calculated risk, I had to I fought my way for 4.5 5 years prior to unlocking that for my business. But I think that some of my superpowers is I think if I were to say, like, what are your superpowers for your business, I'm very disarming with people that I've just met, and I can come across as very trustworthy. And I think the benefit of being the technician for the company, meaning I built the websites, I did the graphic design, I've done everything. During the sales process, I can talk about every little detail, answer every single question to the point to where it just provides complete trust. To whereas if other very capable companies, these businesses go and interview other marketing companies and they're very capable, but if it's a standard sales rep, I'm going to beat them every time because the amount of expertise that I have. And then I just worked unbelievably hard to build up my reviews to the point to where, my reputation speaks for itself online. And thankfully at this point, we have about 150 reviews, 5 stars at this recording. And so you have that just makes it a no-brainer for businesses to want to work with you. So I feel very grateful. So if there's anything from an agency that's watching this, or any type of industry, if you have yet to make the jump into paid ads or work with somebody like Stealth Agency, you got to put time into generating your reviews. Because even if you want to stay small, something that I have let's say you want to stay small, but a year or two from now, you get handed some incredible employees that can help you grow at scale. Paid ads have to be the route that gets you to scale. But if you don't have the reputation to help back you up, it's going to put you back. And so that was something I thought I was very grateful for, is from the very beginning, I had the foresight to grow that at all costs. And so if there's anything that I can encourage any entrepreneurs, whatever your business you're in, regardless if you're running ads, regardless if you're looking to scale, become the best and top rated company. I've never had anybody question the credibility of my business because of it.
So like walk us through that. How do you set up how do you get your reviews? Like these 150 reviews that we're talking about, where are they? How do you get them? How would you like recommend other agencies do it? Because, I've never talked to an agency personally. Maybe I have, but I just didn't know that they had 150 reviews. Like
Yeah.
you're like the top agency
Thanks.
owner that I've spoken to about that. So share the sauce for the agency owners
Dude,
listening out
this is
there.
the sauce. This is the sauce. And review automation tools, you probably don't want this to go out anywhere because you're not needed for it. Um, it has to go without saying that you do a great job. You have to do a great job in the first place. Um, but there's a lot of psychology, a simple psychology and persuasion that goes into it that just makes it unbeatable. After the job is completed, whoever is in charge, whether it's your account manager, it's a tech, or it's you personally that did it, you want it, and they have either voiced their opinion, they've said, "Oh my gosh, you're helping me bring in so much business, or you're doing such an incredible job. I'm I'm actually proud of my website for the first time," whatever it be, they give a verbal cue to show how much they're pleased with you. Or you've done a phenomenal job. Like without a shadow of a doubt that they're pleased. And you've essentially shaken their hand. You want to go, you know what, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, can I ask you for a favor? Leave it at that. And if you've done a great job, I guarantee you 10 out of 10 times, they're going to say, sure. How can I help you? Right? You've been helping their business. You're helping it move forward. And if you truly are doing that, you're getting them business. And you ask, can I ask you for a favor? They're going to say yes. Now it positions the homeowner, it positions your customer, business owner, whoever, that they're actually doing something to help you. Okay, and then you respond after you say, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, can I ask you for a favor? It would be incredible if you would leave us a review on Google about the experience that you've had with us, because we're trying to serve more people just like you, and this will truly make a difference. Would you be open to doing that? That's it.
There you go.
Position that way. Can I ask you for a favor? You explain how it actually is so valuable, and then you go, would you be open to do that? And they go, I have never had anybody say no. And all you
Yeah.
need to do is send a text message, an email, whichever's the way that you communicate with them. Say, hey, it's a pleasure connecting. It was a pleasure connecting you as discussed. It would be incredible if you left us that review. Here's the link.
Okay.
And then
And then
you just
go
keep a
ahead.
spreadsheet. Then you just keep a spreadsheet week over week, and then just shoot a nudge. But I
Mm,
find that the majority of the times, of those 150 reviews, 145 of them leave a review within a few days
wow.
based on
Cool.
that.
And which link are you sending them?
You know what? There's so many links out there, and especially since I'm in the home service inbound marketing space, Google to me is what I'm going all in on. I don't really care for a lot. I don't care for Yelp. I don't care for Trustpilot. Trustpilot can work for some of the other business ventures that I'm looking into. Trustpilot might make a little bit more sense if you don't have a Google business profile, but because if I'm selling people that I can help them rank on Google, I want them to be able to see that my company ranks in the top 3 for best marketing agency in my area. And I want them to see that I have all of these reviews. And since that's such an integral part of my service, and I know that the companies that I might be competing against don't rank high on Google themselves, don't have the reviews. If I have that presence, it makes that decision that much easier for my customers. So
Yeah.
I'm all in on Google
So
for
Google My
reviews.
Business, and where do you set up your Google My Business to? Like, what's the address that you have in Google My
Yeah,
Business?
at the end of the day, I have found personally this. Google would probably say otherwise, but for doing this for a decade, I just see time and again that if you are serious of getting traction organically on Google, you want to see leads coming through, and you have reviews, you need a physical location. So Google offers 2 options. You can do a service area, so it doesn't show a pin on the map. You can do a service option, or you can have that actual physical location. Google has documented this well. Like if you were to look this up, this is really the only documentation they give on local SEO. But your success for being found on Google comes down to 3 things: proximity, relevance, and prominence. Uh, Relevance is the consistency of content that you produce on a consistent basis, on a monthly basis. Relevance is the type of content that you're producing. So if you're a general contractor who's wanting to show up for kitchen remodeling or basement remodeling or bathroom remodeling terms, you need to have consistent content, relevant content around those terms in order for you to be found on Google. Prominence is your reviews and the consistency of that content being produced. So I have found that, let's say you have 100 pages you want to make for your website. I have found that building those out month over month over time, Google likes more than you just dumping it all at once. So that's the relevance and prominence. Proximity is number 1, though. Well, if you only
Hmm.
have a search area, right? Like you have a search radius, you don't even have physical location, you don't have the number 1 indicator that Google cares about for proximity. And so my business didn't even rank well on Google, even with the reviews that I had. It matched relevant. It took care of relevance. It took care of prominence. But it wasn't until that I got a physical location to where I became the number 1 ranked marketing agency in my area for Google.
Wow.
And so
Okay.
it's essential in my experience, not only with my own business but with our clients that we serve.
Love it. So it's essential to have a pin location in Google as a marketing agency.
That's my take.
Now, what's your advice for marketing agencies listening on how to establish a physical location, right? Do you rent an office? Do you
Yeah.
rent like a PO box? What's Google's review of that so they approve
Yeah.
the pinning?
For
Like,
most
what
for
does
most
that look
business,
like?
yeah, for most businesses like this, you might be strapped for cash, and so if especially from marketing for your own self, and so you have to be resourceful and you have to network. Um, all of my employees and everybody, we work throughout the United States. A physical office is superfluous. I'm in my home office right now. Like I don't need an actual. The only reason why I have an office is so that I can rank high on Google. And so you have to establish what your needs are. Do you need a physical? Do you want all of your team in one place, or can they work remote? If they work remote, you really only need a room to a space. What I would recommend you go is if you connect with people in your network that have a bigger building, that have an extra room, and negotiate with them for a couple $100 to see if you can get a suite number. Um, Go put yourself out there, shake hands, because if there are businesses out there that have extra rooms that they're not using, and you're offering them 300-400 bucks to just have the space so that you can add a suite number to it so you can show, do it. That would be the most resourceful way. Then it's month to month. You're not locked into a long term contract, and for a lot of marketing agencies that are wanting to rank in populated areas. I'm in Colorado, so if you wanted to rank competitively in Denver, if you were to get an actual office space, it'd be well over $1,000 bucks. So get resourceful and try to go door knock,
Yeah.
go talk to businesses that might be
Yeah.
open to it. You'll be surprised how quickly you'll be able to find that space.
Love it. Yeah, that's super important. I mean, that probably generates you a lot of organic outreach, right? Having a high rank Google location. So I mean, sometimes like we're marketing agencies and we're not really marketing ourselves that well, right? So like we're creating all these Google My Business locations for other businesses, but not for ourselves. So there's a lesson out there for everybody listening to get your Google My Business and get a lot of reviews for yourself.
If I can interrupt really quick, if I can, this can be a small note to stealth. Is It's become very clear to me that even with my Google Business Profile ranking number one for the most important agency keywords in my service area, I mostly use it as a way to show the credibility of the work at hand. If you are serious of actually growing and scaling your business, it's coming through paid ads. I look at some of the regrets of my business. Um, if I look at some of the regrets in my business, like I've had some watershed moments in my business this year because of my breakthrough through paid ads for my own company. If I would have listened to Joao 2, 3 years ago, I'd probably be so much farther ahead and took the financial risk to trust in somebody like Stealth Agency. It would have got me so much farther. And so, yes, Google Business Profile is important. Yes, it shows the credibility. Yes, it closes deals for me because they see my reviews. And when they look up best agency near me in my service area and I show up number one, people know that I know what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, paid ads is what's going to make you win. And a company like Stealth Agency is going to help get you there. That's my personal take. And Jow
Oh,
didn't
that's
and Jow didn't pay me to say that. So
yeah. I no, I didn't. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, I'm super appreciative to giving us that shout out. It's like fun connecting with you after like we spoke on a sales call 3 years ago, right? And
yep.
like it's been a long time that we've been working on our own agencies, and we reconnect today to kind of share, this moment of, talking and chatting up and seeing how each other is doing. So I love that we're connecting, and I'm super appreciative of your support for our agency. One thing that I want to touch back upon is that the number one way to get reviews, right, is to do a good job. And so, like, when we talk about good job, when we talk about good fulfillment that gets results for our clients, right? Like, how do you look at that? Because there's so many services, right? There's so many different kinds of businesses. Some businesses are going to be, great. Other businesses are going to be so in terms of like some business owners are going to be kick ass, right? They do everything you ask for them. Like they answer the leads. Let's say you're running paid ads. They know how to answer the phone call. They know how to work CRMs. Like, how can you generate results? How can you generate such good results for your clients?
Great question. A key portion that agencies need to figure out for their own business, as long as they can afford it and have the margins for it, is that depending on your pricing structure that you have, if you go more affordable routes, the more flexibility you have with tracking and the results that come through on that. And so early on, I actually did a lot of volume. I didn't make massive amounts of money from it because our profit margins were a little bit less, but it allowed me to serve our clients. And most businesses care for attention to detail. They care that you prompt and that you're making them, and that you make something that makes them proud of their business, and that that you can start to get the phone ringing. So if you have a lower ticket offer, if you do those four things, that's going to deliver reviews for you. It's making sure that if you do go to where you're spending that your clients are spending thousands of dollars of management every month for you, that's when you need to step up your game for analytics to show the proof is in the pudding. Alex Hormozy has said something that's resonated with me for a long time. That's you don't want to make sure I get this right. But you don't, in order to stop people from hating on you, you just need to provide undeniable proof of the success that you bring. And as a marketing agency, if you are going to have charge clients $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in management fee, you need to make sure that you have the analytics that can support that. So when you come to the meetings to where, and you need to run paid ads on top of that, otherwise you're not going to be able to keep your clients long term. So as long as you are running paid ads and you are able to track it to show the proof, you will be able to keep your customers long term, because even when they might not feel it and they're frustrated, as long as you have the proof, that's what's going to make them trust you and keep weathering the storm when there's a dip in lead flow.
Yeah. So, let's transition a little bit to, like, I couldn't convince you to run paid ads when we spoke, right?
I know. Oh my, yeah.
So I didn't do a great job as a salesperson there, but what was the point for you when you're like, okay, I'm going to do paid ads?
Pretty recently this year. I mean, at the end of the day, I've worked my absolute tail off to be a $50,000 a month agency for 4 years. And by God's grace, I've been able to sustain it. But a lot of hard work. And I think there's been plenty of moments to where God put referrals on my plate that allowed me to take care of payroll, to take care of my family. But I think I've had, because it comes back to some of my initial failures when I first was at this big box marketing agency. I'd have these big clients and I couldn't deliver for them on paid ads. And so when you're handling paid ads, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month for a customer, and you're not performing for them, there's this fear of inadequacy that comes in. And I let that dictate me for a really long time, subconsciously, of the fear of you don't want to take something as important as that and not come through for your customer base. And so for many years, we built our business around local SEO, websites, doing all these incredible work. And we'll do paid ads if they need it, but not really pushing it. And thankfully, one of my account managers that's been with me for a year, just an absolute wizard with Google Ads. And as I start to see, and I'm now transitioning out of fulfillment, and we'll be out of that by the end of this year completely and be an actual executive for the business. But he taught me that, and as I start seeing his customers outperform mine, the driving factor was he was doing really well with paid ads. And it was a light bulb to me to where just because I had that failure in the past doesn't mean I should tackle it again. And because we do everything so well, now that we've added the paid ads front to our repertoire and our as the cavalry for our business, it's just begun to start taking up tremendously. And so because we've seen that success from the customer base, it's like we have to take the calculated risk and do it for a rally point, and it's paying off substantially.
Yeah. Cool, man. So I love to hear that. I love to hear that you're doing paid ads for your clients and for yourself, correct?
Paid ads for my business is the only way that you're going to be able to scale. At least in my personal experience of 5 years, I will go toe to toe with any marketing company out there of grinding and networking, working off of referrals. Like, I built a $50,000 a month agency off of networking and referrals, and a little bit through Google, through local SEO. So I know how to grind, but it's not sustainable. I'm not going to be able to get to a level to like that Joao can serve unless I have paid ads. And that was the moments of just seeing other industries and people like Joao that I trust, to where I was like, if I'm going to actually be able to have impact and have bandwidth and time to do what I'm meant to do on this earth, I I have to invest and I have to take the risk on ads. And I know that I can produce an awesome project. I can produce an awesome end result. And so it was in part seeing a lot of it was in part my employee, and it was in part seeing other men and entrepreneurs like Joao that are doing it that made me take the leap.
I'll say about paid ads for agencies, you know, like sometimes you don't get results from paid ads for an agency, right? Like depending on the niche, man, it's tough. Like that's the truth.
Yep.
Depending on the niche, it's very hard to get results. Like, we're a white label agency, but we've grown beyond being a white label agency, right? At this point, we also have niched agencies. So we have a direct to, business owner agency, not just, white labeling for agencies. Because, I mean, we have an 80 people team now. We, have the resources. We have a lot of like management in place. But there are some niches that we've tried tackling that, like that I spent from my pocket $8,000 and couldn't get, super qualified leads. Like we're still refining the offer. We're still refining like the marketing language. We're still refining, the visual, the creatives, the copy, the offer, the targeting. And so sometimes it takes more work. And it's also because like, private education, a niche that we're tackling as well, is not, I don't know too much about the buyer, so like I don't know what the sales cycle is inside of a school. I don't know who speaks to who. I don't know who is the decision maker, if they have to speak to their board. I don't know all of those logistics and dynamics to buy a marketing service. I also don't know too many of the pain points. I just know that I've had private education clients that came in through white label, but they were a direct client to us. I'm like, if they came in thinking, if they saw our, ads talking to agency owners and they signed up for it, what if I create, language for them? Like that's going to be amazing, right? And it was a super high LTV. So like we got amazing results for them. So, we tried this, route of running paid ads to like private education, but we haven't had much success. I mean, we're breaking even on the ads. Like we signed up one client that, they're going to have a high LTV with us. And so it's going to pay for all the marketing efforts, but it's been like 2 months and a half of really getting unqualified leads. And like, that's the truth, for agency, running ads for agencies, I mean, we're booking 18 calls per day from paid ads. So we have a team of 5 closers. We're generating 18 calls per day for like
That's
5 closers. And so, that works really well. And we've been able to grow a lot by selling like to a very specific audience. But I was an agency owner. I knew all the pain points that agency owners have about fulfillment, about growing their own businesses, being able to generate book calls every single day, and growing. And so when I try to translate that myself to a niche that I didn't know, I didn't have the same success, right? So here's one piece of advice for an agency owner listening to this that wants to actually grow their agency massively through paid ads. You should really know who you're speaking with. You should really know their pain points, their desires, and create marketing language, copy, creatives, and an offer that really speaks to what they want. That's what I have to say from my side, Charlie. And I want to
Come on, man.
hear your
You know what you're
thoughts on
talking
this.
about. I think to keep at that. Um, if you are running, let's say you've started to run ads for yourself and take the risk, but you're like the only competitive advantage that you talk about in the ad is, hey, we do websites, we do SEO, we're local to your industry, to your area. Book a call. That has nothing to do with what Joao is talking about for the creative messaging and the offer. What would be even just so invaluable for the time of being with Stealth is actually for them to help create an offer for you. Because without an offer and 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 without the ability to communicate that offer in the way that ticks with your ideal customer, you're just blowing away money. And so that alone is going to be invaluable for working with Stealth. They're just going to open up a new level of understanding for creative copy and messaging that's actually going to make it work.
100%. So, Charlie, thank you so much for your time, for sharing all the sauce. I think, I have a lot of notes here of like time segment or timestamps of where you said really cool things, and I'm excited to create that short form content. Now we're also creating medium form content for YouTube, and so there are specific times where you go on from like 1 minute to 5 minutes, so that's too long for short form. Now we're introducing medium form. I'm calling it medium form, so I don't care if there's a name for it. Tell me, because I don't know, but I'm calling it medium form, and it's going to go on the YouTube. So, if somebody doesn't want to listen to the full podcast, boom, we're going to have like 2 to 5 minute cuts where you talk about, reviews, how to rank locally and all these other cool things that you shared. If you're listening out there, also make sure to check out Stealth and Joao's Instagram. We're going to get Charlie's Instagram really soon. But I want to ask you my rapid fire questions, because it's always fun to get perspective of agency owners. Whatever comes to mind, it doesn't have to be super complicated. Sometimes like simple gets it done. Okay. So I'm going to kick things off here. Well, some of them you might have answered already, but I still like to get all in this one take. Okay.
All right.
So
Go.
Charlie, what's the most impactful software or tool that you use to run your agency?
Monday.com.
How many niches is your agency actively involved in?
Actively involved in, I would say over 20.
Ooh.
But we specialize, I think, especially with paid routes, we're specializing in 5. That's going to be the sauce. So
Okay.
that's where we're at.
What's your average monthly spend for paid acquisition?
Paid acquisition, about 3,000 to 4,000 currently.
Cool. Can you share one unique tactic that you've used to acquire clients?
Yes. Make sure if you need to have the ability to have fulfillment done, but if you are in the point to where you don't have ad spend, but you have the team and the bandwidth, make custom homepages and contact pages for businesses that you want to acquire. And instead of going at an email or a phone call of like, hey, I think I can grow your business, you can approach it saying, by the way, hey, I've followed you from afar. I admire your business. And by the way, I made an incredible website homepage for you that I think you'd like. That opens the doorway every single time. So like, for instance, we have paid acquisition, but I was driving by in my neighborhood a truck of a GC that I admired. He didn't have a website. So I built him a website, and I just said, hey, by the way, I've admired what you see, and I think you have a great presence online for reviews. I built you a website. The guy now is becoming a monthly recurring client with us because he's actually impressed, and he gets marketing calls all the time. Why? Because I put in the work, actually showed care and detail, and I don't have to use any type of silly language like, what would you do if I got you 10 new leads a month? What would that do for your life and your business? Silly stuff like that.
Are you open to getting new clients?
Yeah.
I get so many of that every single day. Like, the more content I'm generating, the more stupid DMs I'm getting. I get some good DMs, so if you can send some good DMs, send it my way. But like a good one I heard yesterday, I was talking to Corey Jackson, knows a lot about the agency space. He has shared one that he says, I found a broken link in your website. you
Mm,
know? And so I feel like you're going a step that requires more effort to
okay.
actually building a homepage. And I think that there's a lot more value in that.
Well,
But are you building a homepage before you send that message, or do you send that message
well,
if they say okay, then
no,
you build the
no,
site?
that's what makes the impact. Now, again, let's
Okay.
say we build it. It's custom. It's epic.
Yeah.
But like, here's the risk. Let's say you build it, you get no response or nothing happens. Well, it's an epic website. You then can repurpose it for another company. So it doesn't
Yeah.
even take that. But it shows the effort. It's not a gimmick. And at the end of the day, AI is going to take over website builds in 1 to 2 years completely. So
Yeah.
how do you make sure that you're on the right side of change? And because at the end of the day, how do you promote value and not be scared of AI and leverage it? Because that's going to be the case anyway. People are going to do that because AI can
Yeah.
help you do that. So how about you do it sooner and get ahead of the game to make an impact? Again, that's what you do if you are like you're trying to grind and you are scared of trusting Joao with paid ads. That's
Yeah.
what I would do in the interim before you entrust him.
All right, awesome. And so, can you, if you could, okay, automate whatever part of your business, which one would it be?
Great question. If I could automate any part of my business, it would. Oh, this is not a rapid. I'm not getting a good rapid fire question off of that. It would be as I think, and this is there's ones out there that can already do this, but a tool like Go High Level, as we are seeing an exceedingly amount of lead flow that we've never had before, creating just really clean systems and processes to help the customer experience when they first fill out a form before they get on a call with me, will be a big one. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm working on.
Oh, so like a lead qualification tool?
Lead qualification tools, automatic text messages, emails, giving them all the details, highlighting, qualify, all of that good stuff. Because
Yeah.
I definitely spend a decent amount of time for people that fill out their information but don't go through the entire part of the funnel, reaching out to them, trying to qualify and create opportunities from there.
Yeah. Well, I can share with you the way that we're doing it with Synflow. And so it's like a very good AI that calls the lead automatically. Hey, I just want to ask you a quick qualifying questions. You know, like what's the size of your business? What's your revenue? So, I'll send you that
Do
sauce afterwards.
you
Okay.
got a lot of stuff, Joe. I got plenty to learn from you. You're a builder, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We got a lot to learn from each other. And so, speaking of learning a lot from each other or not, what's a marketing trend that you feel it's overrated? This
I'm
is
gonna
such a
get a lot
hard
of
one.
flack. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. But I'm gonna say backlinks to start. Um,
Backlinks. Okay.
yeah. Obviously, high domain authority backlinks, awesome. Get them. If you're not getting, if it's not over 50, I don't think it's worth your time, in my opinion. And so, backlinks are really silly. And I've just through doing thousands of websites and helping so many businesses, we've ranked so many at the top of local SF of the map pack without it.
Mm.
And there's a lot of things that you can do to influence it. Now, again, that might change in a few years, but I think there's a lot that can be done without them.
Wow. Okay. Now that was fire because I haven't heard that one before. That's a lot of that's awesome because everybody talks about backlinks and here you are, you can do so much without it. So
Yep. I would like a part of my sales process. If I have customers talking about backlinks, I'm like, hey, that's month eight before that. We're not touching them before month eight because there's so much that you can do on your Google business profile that will be so much better than backlinks and tons of stuff that you can do for your website, um, that don't require it. Again, if it's something that works well for you that you can sell, do it. But I built my business and success on my clients with doing very little back.
My other question for you is, if you had to only focus on one marketing channel for growth, which one would it be and why?
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like what's the marketing
Yeah,
channel
I
for
would say,
growth? Like email, paid ads
to serve to customers or for my own business. Sorry,
for your own business.
Instagram, Instagram for now.
Instagram. Yeah.
I have found so I have 150 reviews on Google as we've shared throughout this process. Whenever I do an introduction to a business and I send them my details or portfolio before the call, um, I have I have a little over 500 followers on Instagram. I've just started running this. I put a ton of effort into it, and so my content I believe is very high quality. But I don't have much followers yet. I still get more feedback from prospects and leads about my social channels than I do my reviews now. They are
Wow.
so impressed by it because, again, if you think about it, it's a lot easier to build a following and it's a lot easier to grow reviews um, and have reviews, even have fake reviews, than it is to have not only a good following, but they can tell from your content that you have the sauce. And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, if you were to say, would you rather have 500 reviews on Google or 500,000 followers on Instagram? I would say 500,000. Not some, the 500,000 piece is nice, but
Yeah.
what would really crush it is people seeing my content because I am doing stuff that nobody else is doing. And so that would be my pitch
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure. And you've been putting so much more effort. Like we didn't even have time to cover that, but you've been putting so much more effort into creating content online. Um, and it's been fun, like watching you talk about things I didn't even know you knew so much about. It's like when we have a conversation in 1 hour, I don't get to see every, like small piece of knowledge that you have. And I respect you more now that I know about this other knowledge that you have because I couldn't know before. I don't spend time talking to you every
Yeah.
day, right? And so when you create that content in short form segments where you're sharing, sauce or like education or a bit of your lifestyle, I get to know you more. And now I want to, invite you to a podcast because I'm like, yo, Charlie's putting so much content. Let me hit him up. And I hit you up because of content. And so, like, content's already producing speaking opportunities, right? This is a speaking opportunity from, like, 4 short form videos that I saw over the last, 3 weeks that you've been posting. So, I feel like that is the beginning, the very beginning of a very big and profitable new channel of client acquisition for you. Like the more time you're spending creating content and talking about different aspects of your service and different things that you do, the more you're going to grow. You are going to get more followers, but the more people that like are going to contact you for buying your services, right? If you have 5 people or 20 people talking to you to buy your services every month from your content, that could already mean tens of thousands of dollars for you. So
To to back this up even further, I just got off of a sales call from a lead through paid ads right before this conversation. The the owner has talked to 13 marketing companies before talking to me and seeing my offer online. My reviews I'm sharing with him, but I can guarantee you that even with my meager 560 followers on Instagram, my content is going to impress him more and make me stand out than any of the other companies because none of them else are doing that.
And it's crazy, right? That like people are still not doing content online. It's like, how are we not doing content online at this point? And so It's a grind, man. It's hard. Like doing content is hard. I mean, you're just starting. I feel like you're just starting now, right? Like more
Yeah,
recent times that you're
I'm,
going
I'm
all in.
45. Yeah, I'm 45 days in, but I have a full time videographer and graphic designer to help me build. Um, and it's already, I mean, financially, people reaching out to me, it's already created opportunities. It's already been super beneficial. I get to um, do things like this, which I'm humbled to do. I think it's just been a shift. You know, you find other leaders in the space that you admire that you want to be like. Zhao's one of those for me. I'm not just saying that because he invited me on a podcast. Um, he's a builder, and I think there's been an identity shift in my life to where I'm a builder, and I have things that are worthwhile to share with the world that people are going to benefit from. And so I've made that shift. I speak that over to myself a lot because you'll see posts and you think something's killer and it gets 150 views, right? And then it makes you want to stop. Um, but if you have the mindset of you're a builder, like I'm a builder, I have something worthwhile to share to serve the world. Um, it puts a drive. So I mean that like Joao, you're a builder, man. You are at levels that I aspire to and that where I'll get to. So
For
thank you
sure,
for
man.
thanks for being an example.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the tough thing is that you build in silos. You know what I mean? You build alone and you don't have anyone there to be like, keep building. You're just like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck, I gotta build and I'm gonna get 100 views on this, video. Until you start getting 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and things start to change. You start to get that energy and that excitement for creating content. But it's really fun that in the beginning you start already getting a bit of traction here and there. And then that empowers you to, get a lot more traction, get a lot more results, and get more excited for creating content. But, you were able to grow a lot your businesses without content, without paid ads. Um, like you spoken about your revenue, but just going back to a rapid fire here, what is your current revenue and how was your agency initially funded?
By myself, it was funded completely by me and just figuring it out. Um, so I'm the sole owner, which I'm really thankful for. I mean, my ads are like this is something that I figured out in June, which is great. But it's moving me up to where I've gone from 50 to where I'll be 60,000 this month, and just with the pipeline and lead flow that's coming in, it's trending in the area to where I hope to be at 75K here before the summer's end and move it there. So that's where I'm heading, and thankfully I've been able to bootstrap that. I mean, that's the thing with digital marketing, man. It's a low barrier to entry, and if you can do it right, you don't need outside investors. You can have this completely for yourself.
Yeah, man, like when you start to improve that or to increase that lead flow and you see the pipeline value growing, it's exciting. And as long as you can keep your churn reasonable, right? As long as you can keep delivering and you figure out how to get more clients, you just boom, take off. And so it's fun to see you taking off. And I'm pretty confident, like with your numbers, you're going to get to the 100K by December.
Yeah, I mean, and just to encourage any agency out there, it took a while, took a lot of money to figure out winning ads and winning offers. Um, but even just in this last week, I've pitched more to customers because of my offer and my ad that I did last month entirely, all from ads.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, if you are actually looking from afar from Zhao, um, that's what's going to make you move, man. But you have to be
Yeah.
willing to craft a really good offer and humble yourself to listen to their team, to create something that can work, and to be willing to spend the money to risk, because it's not going to just work overnight, but it will work
Yeah.
and will change
So,
things.
speaking of offers and creating that, just like parenthesis here, What's your advice for agency owners that want to run their own ads, right, for local business? What's your advice towards, creating an offer that's going to get the attention and get calls booked?
Well, if you for most agencies, you probably have a wide net because you'll work with anybody that can help pay your bills, right? And so you just adapt and you figure out what to do. With paid ads, in order to craft a winning offer, you have to have a clear message for a specific audience. It's very hard to do that with a broad audience, I have found. And so if you do home service businesses, if you also do e-commerce, if you do all these things, if you just have if you have standard messaging and a standard offer for everything, it's not going to stick. And so what I would start is reverse engineer, what industry do you consistently produce great results for? Start with that industry and create an offer geared specifically for them. Again, it's not saying that you can't work with other industries, but for your ads, work to create an offer specifically for that industry and make it enticing. In order to convert cold traffic to become potentially paying customers, you have to have a good offer. I heard something from another agency mastermind. The quality of your offer determines the quality of your lead flow. So if you have a pretty bland offer, you're going to have pretty bland leads. But if you have a crystal clear offer, you'll have crystal clear leads. And it's 100% true from what I've experienced.
Yeah. And so give us an example of a good offer.
Woo! This is the sauce. We do some guarantees, but again, we, like I said earlier, we work at 20. We were 20 plus industries, but then I alluded to that we're going to do more like 5 and focus. And the reason why is because those 5 industries we do really well with, and I think I can provide guarantees for the customer. And another tidbit, businesses could care less about websites, SEO, paid ads. They care about the unique mechanism that helps them get jobs. They don't care about leads, they care about jobs, and they care about paying revenue. And so if you're running ads that go, hey, we build incredible websites or we do great SEO, I have found that subconsciously these business owners get cold called all the time. Like their brains are subconsciously prone to just turn that off when they see it. And so I would, how do you create a message that goes towards their desired result and builds a unique mechanism that communicates truthfully what you do without using all of the slang, the website, the SEO, all of that stuff, because that turns people off, I found.
For sure. And Charlie, as you grow, how do you manage your cash flow? Like, how much do you have for your war chest versus like how much do you decide to spend on paid ads? Like, how do you look at your cash flow from your business?
Yeah, that's the hardest part about my business to where I've been at. And truthfully, these aren't, when you come on podcasts, you get to share the highlights and the things that you're doing really great for your business. But that's always been the hardest part is, I typically only have about 15 to 20K in the reserve. And so when you have it that low, it's going, and how do I take a risk to help move that in the right direction? So, but you took the calculated risk, and that's already projected to double here very quickly because of that.
Yeah, man. I feel like growing a war chest, right, or a reserve, that really took some weight off my shoulders, right? Not having like to, just have enough to pay next month's payroll or like, cause I was there for many months, I would go through months where I'm like, oh shit, we better not have that many churn because I got to get my revenue next month and pay these guys out because my reserve is super dry. And so
That's the question that pulls down the agency owner's pants and makes them a little bit nervous when you say something like that. But that's the truth. And at the end of the day, if you can tackle that honestly and figure out a way to grow the reward chest, you're gonna win. And so to me, that's been my number one thing that I've tried to tackle for the last 6 months is how do I grow the war chest? And it's been clear to me. It's strategic paid ads, that something that Stealth offers is the way to grow that war chest.
For sure. And for, in terms of bottlenecks, what's your biggest bottleneck today?
Right now it's me. So at the end of the day, but I'm becoming a builder, right? And so we're now at the point that the war chest is growing, that I can get on another account manager so that I can get out of fulfillment, and then I'll be able to really build and scale the business to where we want to go. And paid ads is what's made that happen.
100%. And so, Charlie, this has been an incredible conversation with you. It's been like super fun to catch up over, the last 2-3 years that we've known each other. But before we sign off, what's one piece of advice that you would give to agency owners out there looking to scale their businesses?
You got to invest in paid ads. You just do. That's what's going to win, man. Paid ads wins. But don't do the silly stuff like get a free estimate or local and you list all of your features. Work with somebody that understands copywriting to craft an offer using mechanisms that will speak to your target customer. And once you do that, like I've had ads running to where same copy, graphics, everything. I change one word and I've pitched $15,000 in MRR in like 3 days just from that switch. Right? So messaging is key. So invest in somebody that knows what they're doing. That will short track a lot of pain.
And, if there are any business owners, any leads, any potential people listening to this YouTube and want to connect with you, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, just type into Google Rally Point Marketing. You'll be able to see all of our reviews there so you can see what we're about. You can go to our website. But at the end of the day, I think, as I alluded to earlier, I think social is going to be one of the clear outliers for me and my business. That's really going to, even more so than my reviews. And so if you want to look me up at my Instagram handle, it's Char, so Char Piehler, Piehler. That's my Instagram. Follow me there. That's where I'm putting content out every day, and that's where I'm banking a lot of the future for what I'm doing for my business.
Let's go. Well, thanks for joining us, Charlie. And for everyone tuning in, make sure to subscribe to Growth Lab Sessions so you never miss an episode. If you found this conversation valuable, subscribe to our channel and follow me on Instagram at Joao for more agency growth strategies. I'll see you on the next one.